This is my audience. Who has had the greatest influence on your life? For me, a special teacher comes to mind. Throughout my life as a student, many teachers have come and gone and have been loved and hated, but no one had a greater impact on me than Mrs. Joanne Booth. She was my high school home economics teacher, and certainly all of us have had teachers who evoke strong emotions in us, both positive and negative. Today I would like to pay tribute to this very special lady, Mrs. Booth. Mrs. Booth was always having concern for others and always giving encouragement when I needed it or when anyone needed it for that matter. Now I want to give you some examples of why Mrs. Booth was so special to me. Mrs. Booth taught her students by her examples. She always had a smile on her face and an inspiring thought to share her true life experiences. She also helped me through a difficult time in my life as a teenager. I was a teen mom, and she was always there to give me words of encouragement or just to tell me suggestions on how to raise my baby. My parents were there, but she was also another good person that I could go to when I needed her the most. My high school problems did not compare to what Mrs. Booth faced while teaching. Mrs. Booth taught her students by her examples of courage. Mrs. Booth was always a positive outlook when she was diagnosed with cancer. She was told it was terminal, and despite her ill health and suffering, Mrs. Booth never missed a class. She never tried to show us that she was in pain or even that she was sick at all. She always kept her head up, and her attitude toward life never changed. In addition to her giving all to her students, Mrs. Booth also donated time to the community. Mrs. Booth taught her students by example of concern for others. She volunteered for several local charities. She was always volunteering her time to help with things like the local blood drives. She was always putting other people's needs before her own. Even when she was so sick, she cared to help for others before herself. She also contributed to local fundraisers there at the high school for anything, whether it was raising money for sports or raising money to help another sick child that was attending the school or anybody in the district. So she was always putting her needs before others and trying to help in every way that she could. So I hope you have seen what a truly unique and wonderful individual Mrs. Booth was. I'm sure that we have all had teachers who were special to us in some way, and I hope you could see how Mrs. Booth's concern for others and courage made her very special to all her students. The impact that this lady had upon those who knew her was proven when the announcement of her death, of her dying from cancer, which she had fought so long and hard, caused a whole football stadium full of screaming fans to fall silent and to remember the loss of the school, the community, and anyone who knew and loved her. Mrs. Booth, you are loved and you will be greatly missed.